Welcome to Estate Planning Nightmares and How to Avoid Them. I'm your host, John Braddock, the author of Click Here When I Die, Making Things Easier for Those You Love, and co-founder of MyLifeAndWishes.com, an end-of-life planning and storage platform created for the sole purpose of not leaving a nightmare for our families after we are gone. This show is about the nightmares which potentially await, the realities of not planning, and the simple solutions to avoid them. Our goal is to provide valuable information on a crucial topic that affects everyone. Estate planning is often overlooked, but it is essential to ensure that one's assets are distributed according to their wishes and that their loved ones are not burdened with unnecessary legal and financial issues after their passing, or nightmare avoidance. My guest today is Jolene Blackbourn. She's a virtual estate planning attorney in California. She helps people protect their assets and their loved ones from the comfort of their own home. She's the mom of two neurodiverse human children and two rescue dogs. When she isn't saving Californians legally, she enjoys helping pre-law students save money on law school. She is the author of the Pre-Law Survival Guide and the Law School Alternative. She also enjoys playing soccer and, most importantly, spreading Halloween into a 12-month holiday. Welcome to the show, Jolene.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Let's talk about Halloween as a 12-month holiday first. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think I'm the only one because lately in the last year or two, I've seen a lot more of it's halfway to Halloween, and then there's haunts and celebrations. There's summertime conventions, so it's starting to spread.
Well, you know what I love about Halloween? It reminds me of nightmares. And the title of our show is Estate Planning Nightmares. And of course, you're an estate planning attorney. So I'm thinking today, let's chat briefly about the perils of DIY or do it yourself estate planning. So, I'm going to launch right in with this question, Jolene. I mean, why should I hire you, a lawyer, when I can just go online and create a will and just do it myself?
Yeah, I think everyone's thinking that, right? Because there are these forms, these companies have been around for a long time, so they must work, they must be decent documents, right? There are so many problems with those forms that are online. Sometimes it's the forms themselves. So let's assume that you pick the right forms, that you pick everything you need to create an estate plan from start to finish, and you pick it for your state. Okay, so you're already ahead of some people because some people are going to mess that up. Then how do you know these forms actually are any good? Sometimes I review these documents and they're missing key clauses in there. And you would never know as a person who doesn't review these all day. In fact, sometimes when I glance at them too fast, I miss the fact that they are missing key components. So seriously, you would not know. And then there's the whole fact of like, oh, go ahead.
And I'd never know either, right? So if I
You'll never
create
know.
this online will, then I'm dead, right?
Right.
I'm around, but my family's going to get to know that I screwed it up, right?
Yes, they're going to be cursing your name. So yeah, you'll never know. And then the next thing is, how do you know you're filling it out correctly? People make mistakes all the times, even though it says like put your name there, your kid's name there, that kind of thing. There are still ways to do it wrong. And if they, heaven forbid, let you put a whole sentence in there, even just something as minimal as a comma can change the meaning of a whole sentence. I've seen it several times. So you can fill them out wrong. And then the last thing that you can do wrong is, let's just say you have these great forms and you filled them out correctly. They actually are supposedly going to do what you want them to do. Which ones have to be notarized? Which ones have to be witnessed by how many people, or do they need to be witnessed? Who's supposed to sign what and where? Did you check every box for sure? And did you actually understand that box? So there are so many problems. So you're not just paying for an attorney to create pretty documents or thicker documents. It's actually making sure it has every clause for every contingency that might arise later down the road for you, as well as giving you that advice of okay, well, if you really want this to happen, you actually need to check this other box. So you're really paying for that peace of mind, knowing that no matter what you want to have happen, it's going to happen because the attorney helped you make it happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. An online form just simply asks you questions, but there's no give and take. There's no feedback. I expect if I come to my estate planning attorney, and I have children and I have a business, you're going to ask me certain things like, well, what do you want to have happen with the business? Do the kids want, and it's going to go through all kinds of variables and likely questions I haven't even thought of yet.
Yes.
So,
I have so many people. For example, I had a man who wanted to leave his house, a life estate, to his girlfriend. Now, okay, try and DIY that. Good luck. But then while we were creating the documents, she pissed him off. So he decided, I don't want to give her a life estate. I want to give her a 3-year rental agreement. And so we converted it, we changed it. But yeah, again, good luck creating that on your own. So there are a lot of things that we can do. And again, talking about that, letting them know what the options are, letting them know what type of headache they're creating for their family, especially between their family and the girlfriend. That's where it really comes down to talking to the attorney and getting the best option. Because again, maybe even though he was mad, maybe he would keep the life estate based on my advice or the scenario. So you really need someone who knows all the ramifications to walk you through it.
hey, did I hear at one point, and I don't know if it's the great state of California where you are or another state, but I thought I heard someone mention that um, if the will was notarized, it would be invalid
Yes.
or something like that. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so every state is different, which is why you need your state specific documents. And in California, if you notarize a will, it does nothing, basically. So it's not bad or good. It just does nothing for you. You need 2 witnesses in the state of California, 2 disinterested witnesses. So not the kid you're leaving stuff to, but your next door neighbor or something like that. And if you don't have those 2 witnesses, it's trash. It's worthless. So I did have a client who did their DIY wills and they had them notarized. They thought they looked good. I said, these are trash. These are worth nothing. These are not witnessed.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And they've been going around for years with these wills, thinking they were completely valid, thinking they filled them out well. And I mean, that wasn't the only problem with their wills. There were several problems with their wills, but nothing that was obvious, nothing that an average person would know.
Well, yeah, and dying, a lot of people don't realize, but when you have a will, it does not avoid probate. So there is probate involved, but if now the family finds out the will is invalid, now you're intestate and probate, and I don't know how long a typical probate can last, but if the kids are chomping at the bit thinking, man, I'm going to get some money now that dad just died, I mean, it might be 18 months out, right?
Right. It's definitely over a year. And the attorney's fees are really unnecessary. If you just had a trust, you would avoid all the attorney's fees as well. So yet there's multiple reasons why if you own real estate, you would want a trust. And I mean, there's other reasons as well, but once you own real estate, that's really the trigger of you need a trust so you can avoid probate so that your assets can be distributed fairly immediately rather than after a year or more. And the court fees, they're on a sliding scale, but just to give you the basics, it's about 4%. So why pay out 4% when you could just pay a few thousand up front and get the trust done and it's good to go?
Yeah, exactly. And so speaking of that, I'll play devil's advocate. All right, well, I saw online where I can create my own trust. That has to be
Yeah.
a bit more of a complicated document to fill out correctly, I suspect.
Yeah. I mean, most professional trusts are 30 plus pages. Most DIY ones I see are something like 5 to 10. Just to give you an idea of what might be missing in there, right? I had a client recently that was missing a no contest clause. They were missing a jurisdictional clause. And the reason those things are important is you might not expect somebody to contest what you wrote. Maybe you have 3 kids and everything's going a third to each kid. So what's there to contest? But some people feel entitled. Some people want more. Or some people, I literally have had people say to me, my one kid is going to contest if I leave a single dollar to the other kid because they hate their brother so much. Okay. So the no contest clause says if you contest this will or trust, you risk losing your own share. And you will lose it basically if you brought this as a frivolous lawsuit. Now, if it's valid, if you feel like there's undue influence and things like that, and you win, okay, then you're fine. But if you bring this and you lose everything. So if you don't have a no contest clause in there and you left, let's say 50% to one of your kids, they can still get their 50% after harassing their sibling or whoever and leading them through a big court battle.
Wow.
So it's a super important clause just to have, just to make sure everybody's kind of calm and plays nice.
Yeah. And trying
So,
to do that on your own, fill that out online, and all the legal jargon that's there, no contest clause. I mean, most people are not going to really think about what that really means, but that is critical because I know you have a couple children. Michelle and I have 6 between us, and the one thing I can pretty much guarantee is children never agree. We can't agree what movie we're going to see. We can't agree on what we're going to eat for dinner. So, if you think they're all going to agree that, yeah, that's the way dad wanted it and wrote it in that will, and no one's going to fight it, think again, right?
yeah, there's always something. And that just really helps. Again, keep it on that low level. And the fact that this estate plan was missing the jurisdiction clause. Jurisdiction means the location where a lawsuit would take place. And that includes any type of court proceeding to wrap up the estate. So whether it's an actual lawsuit like the contesting, or just, you have to go through a little bit of probate or something like that, you want it to say that it's in your home state so that people don't have to travel around to fight a lawsuit. On top of that, if you don't put a jurisdiction clause in there, the first lawsuit might be which jurisdiction. So you have to fight that lawsuit before you even get into the meat of why the person is suing in the first place. So it's like 2 lawsuits. So yeah. Now, most of the time, if the person, for example, has been in California their whole lives, all their real estate's in California, okay, it's pretty much going to be California. But a lot of people at end of life move out of state because, the kid that tends to care for them lives in Colorado and they're going to move with them. Or, hey, it's cheaper in, Alabama. So we're going to move to Alabama. And now they own real estate there. So is it going to be in Alabama? Is it going to be in California? We own a vacation home in Wisconsin. I mean, there's so many different things that people, if they just want to, they can do. And you can't stop people from suing. All you can do is try to limit the scope and how much of a hit it makes.
Wow. Yeah, you don't think of it that, and you're right. I mean, they do move. I know.
Yeah. And when you're
my
DIY,
my folks are my folks are down in Florida. So many do. I live in Scottsdale, and a lot of people come this way. It basically God's waiting room, really.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're looking at a DIY will or trust, you're not looking for a jurisdiction clause. I mean, you're just looking for, does it say where I distribute my stuff? Yep, good, let's go.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, that's why you pay
So
me.
yeah, so if I'm in it, so I'm stubborn, right? And all my family and everyone knows me listening knows that's true. So, all right, fine. I understand all that kind of stuff, but I still want to save a buck. So here's my big takeaway. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm stubborn. I want to save a buck. So I'm going to go online and I'm going to create my will or trust myself. Step 2 is I want to find a competent estate planning attorney to at least review it for me. So maybe I didn't have to spend the $2,500, $3,000, $4,000. I've done that, and then maybe I can spend a few $100s just getting it reviewed and having them say, "Hey, we need to add a jurisdiction. We need to add a no contest clause. We
Yes.
need to actually list it in the state that you live in, John, and do those
Yes.
kind of things.
Yeah. So first of all, a lot of attorneys won't even bother. They will just tell you, no, look, I'm not gonna try and fix, your go-kart into a car, right? Like it's not gonna happen. I do try to work with people. Um, but a lot of times I do have to say, you know what, we really do have to start over. Or hey, we can save this one document and maybe your powers of attorney are okay. But everything else needs to be replaced. It really is scary because even though I am checking through it for everything, I'm human. I can miss something. And again, your documents are still never going to be as good as those 30-page documents that plan for every contingency that hopefully you don't need. But the reason they're there is because when it comes to the end of your life, things can change and you don't know what's going to change in what way. And if you're no longer competent, you can't make those changes now. But if you have all these backups to the backups already in the documents, it's covered.
There you go. So there you have it, folks. I mean, you can do it yourself. You can try and find an attorney, and you might find a nice, compassionate one like Jolene that might help you with some. And you might have some that just say, "Nah, bugger off," and now you're taking your chances and rolling the dice. And the reality is, I would rather spend, for me, a few $1,000s and have it done right now than have it not done right and have my family end up spending 10, 20, $30,000 in probate down the road. So you might save a dime today, but it might be pretty expensive for your family down the road.
Money, time, and emotion.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, Jolene, what's one question I didn't ask you? Could be on anything. And how would you answer?
Sure. So I think actually, I'm giving a speech coming up on misconceptions about trust. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that it's hard to do. It's hard to get it going. It's hard to put it together. And really, my process, I start with a questionnaire that you can answer pretty darn quickly. What's your name? What's your date of birth? That kind of stuff. Who are your people, right? Who are your kids? And I need a general idea of your assets. I don't care if your retirement account has 500 or 600,000. If you gave me the wrong number, it's not going to impact what I need to do. So I just need a general idea of what's going on in your life to get started. It's a maybe 10-minute process. It's really not difficult. And you don't even need to know, let's say you want to do uneven distribution. You don't have to know the exact amounts. You can just tell me, I want to do this unequally for this reason. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm not sure. And we work through it together again in a few minutes. And your estate plan can be done within a few weeks. But the part on your end is not gathering 50 documents, not gathering every bank account and retirement account you've ever had. It's not knowing all the answers. It's literally just having some basic information. That's it.
Well, great. That's great. Say, how can our listeners get in touch with you? And I will post this to our show notes as well.
Awesome. So I'm active on Instagram. That's my main platform for the estate planning. So that's Jolene Estates. And then as far as email, I'm estates@joleneblackbourn.com. And I know it's a lot of spelling in there, but it'll be in the show notes. Or joleneblackbourn.com has access to my calendar. You can just set up an appointment with me, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Remember, folks, no one gets out of here alive, so don't take life too seriously.
Yeah, have some fun. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe, listen, and download all the Estate Planning Nightmares episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We'd be grateful if you would save our show to your favorites and share them with others. Remember, life is messy, but death is messier. You can learn more about My Life and Wishes Legacy Vault at www.mylifeandwishes.com. Plan ahead and make it a great day.